listening to Second Wind with Joyce Buford, where women who are ready to expand their life adventure discover the tools to stop playing small and tap into the courage required to enjoy their second wind. Welcome. Good morning, all of you out there. I'm so excited that you're here. It's just pouring down rain in Tyler, Texas. So I'm so glad I get to stay in, don't have to go out in this horrible weather, but I can sit and talk to you along with my guest, Preslee Marshall. Now, Preslee lives in Canada, Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. It's amazing that I can talk to somebody, sit here in Tyler, Texas, and talk to somebody in Canada. I love it. I love it. I really do. But anyway, she is going to bring to us today an interesting situation that she has experienced in the medical area. And so, Preslee, I am delighted that you are here. And I want to share that you are probably one of the busiest young ladies I know. You have 3 jobs that you do. So tell us about that. How can you juggle 3 jobs?
Oh, it can be quite difficult for sure. So one of them is actually seasonally. So it's from about March until October. So I have a few months off in between then.
Mm-hmm.
And then my other 2 jobs, usually Monday to Friday. So I still have the weekends off somehow,
Yeah,
unless
somehow.
things overflow onto the weekend. But I really try to keep that cleared off. And then, yeah, just the paychecks help.
Yes, they certainly do. They do. All right, then we're going to talk today about something that you are introducing me to. I have experienced the word gaslighting before in relationships with narcissists, but this is a new way to use it. So first off, would you explain what gaslighting is to our listeners?
Hi, yes, of course. Sorry, do you want me to explain medical gaslighting or just gaslighting?
This is what gaslighting is, which it will, or you can use the medical if you like. Go ahead, use the medical.
Okay, for sure. So, medical gaslighting, and it's similar to regular gaslighting, but it's basically when a medical professional makes you feel as though it's all in your head, your symptoms, what you're feeling, what you're expressing, making it seem as though your perception of reality isn't there, and making you feel as though your symptoms are being downplayed and dismissed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a narcissist does that as well. When you're talking about, they'll go back like, no, you can't. That's not you. That's not, there's something else going on. So that's what a medical is doing. They're just pulling that word over and using it in the medical when a medical person treats you in that way. And it seems to be in the research that I did and what you have shared in your notes that gaslighting can happen more to women, to minorities, to people that might not have the confidence to speak back. And so they almost take the medical as the authority. And yes, they are more knowledgeable, but they aren't really authority over us. So they can't really say that we shouldn't be or how we should feel. So tell me, if you will, sort of explain how you experienced the medical gaslighting on your journey.
Of course. So all of this started when I started experiencing what I would describe as electric shock sensations all throughout my body. It started happening about once every 2 weeks, and then once a week, and then multiple times a day. And at that point, I realized this isn't something I should hold back any longer, and I need to seek medical advice.
Yes.
So at first, I just called my walk-in clinic. It was convenient. It was close by. at that point, it was during COVID, so it was all over the phone. So I had called in, I told them my symptoms. They said, "It sounds like fibromyalgia, just do Tai Chi." So I was like, "Okay." Hung up the phone. I Googled what fibromyalgia was. I had no clue. I
Yeah.
found out that it was a little bit more serious than just do Tai Chi. And I found out that it could be misdiagnosed often and it has the same symptoms as other conditions, such as MS, for example, which is far more serious. So
Yes.
I thought, what if he was wrong and I had something so much more serious and it was just kind of being blown off as not that big of a deal?
Mm-hmm.
From there, I ended up going to my family doctor, which she's
Was
super
that
nice.
after COVID, or did you have to wait for a while?
I know this was all during COVID.
All during COVID.
All
Okay.
during, yeah.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to see the family doctor. She does live further away. She moved offices. It's a little harder to see her at times, especially during COVID.
Mhm.
So I went to see her, and she said it sounds a bit like MS. So I was a little bit worried, and I
Yes.
thought, okay, so the previous doctor said just do Tai Chi, you'll do better. And this
Yeah.
doctor said, could be MS. Maybe we should go give you a referral to see a neurologist.
Mhm.
So, okay, great. It's a 6-month wait. And here in Canada, I'm not sure how it is out there. Very long wait
Yeah.
times for
Yeah.
everything.
Right.
And during that 6-month period, everything kept getting worse. The pains kept getting worse. And I thought, I don't know if I can wait 6 more months. And
Mhm.
I read about how different tests, such as MRIs, can rule out conditions such as MS.
Mhm.
Um, so I called my walk-in clinic again, who originally said, "Oh, it's just fibromyalgia." And I said, "But what if you're wrong? Can you send me for tests such as MRIs so that I can know for sure and hopefully get this done sooner rather than later?" And the
Mhm.
walk-in clinic basically said, the neurologist you're going to see, they're going to do all that for you. They're going to send you for the test. You don't have to worry about it. And I didn't know for sure if they would. So after another few minutes of convincing the walk-in clinic, they did refer me for an MRI, which was about a month after the appointment with a neurologist.
Mhm.
So a few
Oh,
more months passed. I went to see the neurologist. The first thing he asked me was if I had anxiety, and after that, I feel like he was really set on that being the cause of my problems. At
mhm.
the end of the appointment, I didn't feel like much went on during the appointment, but at the end, he turned to me and said, "It's all in your head. If you get your nails done, you'll feel better."
Oh God.
And I didn't know what to think. I just remember walking like out and like going to the bathroom in the office and like crying. I was like, "What?
Oh,
Like, how is that
yeah.
gonna help?" Right.
Right.
So that month, I ended up getting my nails done, my hair done. I got a facial and a massage. I was like, if it's this easy, if I just have to get my nails done and all of my problems will disappear, I would gladly pay the $30 for it. He
Right.
started making me question if this was actually happening because it was obviously such an easy solution to that.
Mhm.
So, of course, it didn't fix anything, as I kind of figured.
Mhm.
And then a month after that, I had the MRI that I requested. Whereas if I didn't do that at that time, when I went to the walk-in clinic, I would have never gotten the test done. So it would have been probably
Yeah.
another 5 to 6 month wait again. I would have
Yeah.
had to wait.
And
So
this
with
during this time were your symptoms increasing? The
Yeah, they were becoming more, and I'm sure because of stress as well, of not knowing what was actually happening with me and being told to get
Right.
my nails done, all that combined to really triggered what was going on with me. So I
Right.
was able to take the MRI results to my family doctor, who then referred me to see a rheumatologist. And the rheumatologist looked at the MRI test to see that all these other conditions were ruled out. And
Uh-huh.
after a pressure point test, I believe it's called, and a short Q&A, she was able to diagnose me with fibromyalgia. And that was about a year and a half after I started experiencing the pains.
So indeed, that is what you were you have
Yeah.
fibromyalgia. And what's the treatment for that?
There are a lot of heavy painkillers you can take. I'm trying to stay away from that. I
Yeah.
don't think it's to the point where I necessarily need that. but there are lists of food that you should and shouldn't eat. So I'm really trying to stick to that. Staying
Mhm.
active, very
Yes.
important. Keep your body moving.
Walking,
Yeah.
walking and things like that. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
probably the gym if you've got access to
Yeah.
it. But the one thing I want to tell you that I'm really proud of you for doing is that you kept, and we can do it. I think the younger people tend to know they can do it, or those that have experience on the computer. They can do their research, even though they get pushback from our kind of a gaslighting, as we could say. Um, you did go ahead and do your research. You did go ahead and look into, and you really did take action for yourself, which I think is a really big step. I mean, when I grew up, I can remember in my 20s that I had a medical procedure. We just took the doctor's word as law. And we didn't really question it. We kind of accepted it as, yes, that's the law. So anyway, I think back then, and I have experienced that uh, with a hysterectomy. I got a hysterectomy when I was in my 20s because the doctor said I had abnormal cells and I needed to. So, but really, and then every doctor I went to after that, he'd say, why did you get this surgery? Because it's kind of changes a girl's life when you
Yeah.
have a hysterectomy. So, although I have two beautiful children now, they're adults through adoption, but it made me, when I did get cancer again in my 50s, it really did set me up to be sort of like you were, asking more questions, just really putting ourselves out there and believing that we do have the right to question, to ask questions, and to do research. So I really applaud you for that because you did a great job, Preslee, going through the system. Now, did your journey stop there once you had found the diagnosis? Have you continued to get gaslighted or not?
I have not since. I guess that was the biggest thing happening in my life during the last few
Mhm,
years, so that's
mhm.
why it happened. But I
Right.
know now what to do if it were to happen again.
Mhm.
So I think I could get things solved a lot quicker, and I hope that other people can too
Yeah.
by watching this.
Yeah. So tell me or share with them, because I already know where you became exposed to this, the new thinking of medical gaslighting.
At first, I didn't know what was happening. I knew it wasn't supposed to happen. It shouldn't have happened. What I was told is wrong. But it
Mhm.
wasn't until a Dr. Phil episode came out. I saw it. It was recommended to me on YouTube, and it was called Medical Gaslighting. It's not all in your head. And just
Mm,
hearing that it's not all in your head, I was like, wait a second, that sounds awfully familiar to something I've heard before.
right.
So I watched a short clip, and it was essentially similar stories. There was a lady who I'm pretty sure she ended up having cancer, and she was told it was something else.
Hmm.
And she was told, just put on relaxing music and drink some soup and you'll feel better.
Hmm.
Like, wow,
Hmm. Hmm.
very similar. And to know there's so many other people going through that, I thought it was just me. Until I saw that video, that's when I started going and speaking out about this and calling it medical gaslighting, because it was really a aha moment. Like a light bulb went in my head saying, okay, this is important. It needs to be talked about more. It needs to be shared more. And it's affecting so many people around the world. And it's 2023. Like, it
Yeah.
shouldn't be happening.
Hmm. But I would say, I think everybody, male and female, young and old, would be affected by this. Uh, it's still for the older adults. It's still that kind of rule that we carry in our head that they know they're smart, they know the diagnosis and not to question. But I do think we as the patients need to know we are the decision makers here. And if we don't like the way somebody is working with us, we have the right to go find somebody else that works better with us, because we've all got different personalities, and so do the doctors. So in all truth, I really believe that it's up to the patient to be very, very aware of how they want to be treated as a patient. Certainly you want knowledgeable doctors, but if they're just not providing the correct information, or if they've gone down a rabbit hole, as we say in Texas, then you need to move on, because there's somebody out there especially for you.
Yeah.
So did you change doctors, or were you fortunate to stay with most of your doctors?
Yeah, I stayed with the family doctor. She was one who referred me to the different tests. The neurologist, haven't talked to him since.
Uh-huh.
The rheumatologist who diagnosed me, I still talk to her when I need to. And the walk-in clinic, I only go to if I have small needs. Maybe it's prescription that I've had before, but they
Mhm.
definitely aren't my primary choice of physicians that I'll see.
Right. Did you find that this was more prevalent, because you said you have she and he doctors, male and female doctors? Did you find this more prevalent with a male talking down to you, or with a female?
All the doctors that made me feel as though my symptoms were being dismissed were male, but I don't want to say that's necessarily a he versus she thing, but I'm not sure. That was just my experience. I'm sure.
No, honestly, I
Yeah.
think I don't think this is being cruel to men. I
Yeah.
just do think that if you're dealing with an older doctor, particularly, and you're such a young lady, that they might tend to want to father you, you know, take you under their wing and talk
Yeah.
down to you, instead of addressing you as an adult. You know,
Yeah.
who you
I
are.
do look younger
Yes, you
too. I
do.
have people confuse me for someone in high school all the time, even though I graduated in 2015.
Oh
So
my God,
definitely
a
could
baby
be.
face. Well, as you get older, you'll appreciate that baby face
Oh,
more.
I will be very happy.
So would going into the medical field be something you would like to do? To
I
change
don't,
that, or how have you, that's not really your calling, right?
yeah, it's not necessarily what I want to do,
Right.
but I'm hoping that more people who could make a positive impact on the medical community will decide to join to make a difference so
Yeah.
that people don't go through what I did.
Yeah. Well, you have here some signs. How could we help the listeners kind of know when they're being uh, gaslighted, medically gaslighted? Because you certainly did experience it. So
Yeah.
could you tell us three or four?
Yeah, of course. A big one that I hear often, and it was listed in the Dr. Phil title as well, was hearing it's all in your head.
Uh,
I think that's a pretty common one that a lot of people go through. That's one that I heard as well. Another one would be if your symptoms are being immediately blamed on a mental illness or on your weight without any tests being done to determine that.
yes.
Like if you really think, with my example, that it was my anxiety that was causing my problems, why didn't you send me to a professional to determine that or to get help that I needed instead of just saying get your nails done?
Yes.
So I think that's a big one. If you are feeling like you're rushed, that could be a sign as well. They're just trying to quickly get
Oh,
over with
yeah.
the appointment. And it's easy to miss a lot of important details and facts when you're being rushed as well. You may feel like you can't bring things up because you're being cut off and they may
Mhm,
not get the full picture.
mhm.
And of course, if your symptoms are being downplayed, if they're saying it's not a big deal, it's normal for women your age. I've heard of that as an example before. It's normal for people of your weight. It's normal for people with anxiety and such.
Right. Well, it is true that we live in a much more stressful world than we used to.
Yeah.
And stress is really taking its toll on us. And so I can see, but if a doctor comes in and uses that as an excuse, it's not fair to you as the patient to be discounted as, oh, it's just stress. Even if it's just stress, there is a solution for it. And I don't think a manicure is the solution.
No.
So, nor a nap. But so anyway, even his recommendation was belittling, actually.
Yeah, there was an interview I did on the radio about a month ago, and it was a male interviewing me, and he said, um, would they have said that to a male? Would they have told a male patient, if you get your nails done, you'll feel better? And I was like, that's a good point. I didn't think of that. Yeah.
Definitely. They would not have said that to a male. So I really don't think if they've been speaking to a male, they would have addressed in the same way, nor would they have responded in the same way that they do a young girl as
Yeah.
yourself, you know. Now, what also takes effect in some of the notes that I was reading in my research is that it's also color can be, and minorities can be spotted or used or down talked to, and just anybody that might seem confused, an older person, particularly older, younger, and minorities
Yeah.
are many times spoken down to. And it can almost be to the that they kind of don't take it as gaslighting. It's almost the way their environment has turned. Do you know what I mean? Older people are always questioned or discounted because they forget things, they do other things like that. And soon their community starts talking down to them, which is not so good. Wait until you get there. Not
Yeah.
so good. But, and also the minorities have this issue all the time. So it really is a problem in our world right now. Has been with us for a long time, and sometimes we just think it's part of life, but it's not. It just means we need to care more about other people and try to be more respectful of other people, I think. What do you think?
I agree completely. This is something that's not just happening to me, it's happening to so many people. It's happened to my friends, a lot of people of color who I know it's happened to. It's really sad. It's
Mhm.
really sad, and something definitely needs to change. It needs to be spoken about, it needs to be heard about, and people need to be listened to.
Yes. Yeah. Would be so important. Um, what can you do if you feel like you are being medically gaslighted?
So some of the best advice I could give would be starting a journal where you note your different symptoms, and you can just track how everything's progressing, if it's getting worse or not. And you can take that journal, keep it with you for yourself. We can also take it with you and hand it to medical professionals in the future in case you need to switch doctors. So you can show them how everything's been going with your symptoms.
Mhm.
Another one would be to get a second or third opinion from a different medical professional, because there's
Yes.
always someone out there who will listen. It might take a bit to get to them, but you will find your person who will help you.
Mhm.
And another one would be to request your own tests, such as MRIs, if needed, the way I did, because if I didn't do it at that time, it would have been another 6 months of waiting before I ever got diagnosed. So I think
Yes.
advocate for yourself and tell the doctor when you need something, such as a test.
Mhm. Yes. Yeah, I agree with you. The notebook and writing down your history in your hand would be really important in showing how long you have been going through this
Yeah.
and the responses that you've gotten. Because after a while, if you've got a year of going back and forth between doctors over this same issue, it would be easy to get confused, and putting it on paper is always a good log to keep. I think that's a really wise. Um, Sometimes they might not know the test unless they do their own research on the internet. I'm sure that was your go-to place, wasn't it?
Yes. Once I found out that MS and fibromyalgia could have similar symptoms, being the electric shock sensation pains, I
Mhm.
read that one way to rule out MS or to determine if it was that was through an MRI, that was a test that I would need to have done. So I
Mhm.
definitely made sure to advocate that I needed that test done.
Yeah, yeah. Um, did you share this with your parents as far as your frustration?
I did. I did share with them throughout the whole journey of what was happening, and they were definitely on my side saying, "Don't give up,
Yeah,
keep going."
right.
And that's what I did.
Yeah. Um, I really think that it's important sometimes to, as I've said, be responsible for your own treatment. But this particularly, I shared with you earlier, and I didn't share with the audience, that a couple weeks ago, uh, I interviewed a man that had had cancer 5 times, and he, when we were talking, was experienced out in his 5th round of cancer. And one of the things that came out of that talk that I certainly think applies to every medical situation is that you always need a second opinion. Second opinions are important because if they're both doctors, they should come out close to the same diagnosis. And so, particularly in cancer, going to different hospitals can give you a second opinion. So, would that have been possible in your situation? I'm not thinking that you did that in the way that I talked about the cancer, but did you ever go to another doctor, pursue another route to get a second opinion?
As for the diagnosis of fibromyalgia, I have not. I kind of figured through my family physician and then the rheumatologist, and even the first note that the walk-in clinic gave me before testing was done,
Mhm.
that I'm pretty certain that that's what it would
Great.
be.
Okay. All right. Well, I always think it's good to have other opinions. We shouldn't be hesitant nor feel that it's questioning the first doctor, but you have multiple people that you've interacted with that believe you have fibromyalgia, right? Fibromyalgia, right?
Fibromyalgia? Yeah,
Yes,
correct.
fibromyalgia. Um, so today, do you feel pretty comfortable with how you've been treated and how you've made it through that journey?
Yes, I'm definitely feeling a lot better about it. I'm glad I got through it. And through this journey, I've been able to hear so many other stories of people going through the same thing that I did or who are still going through the same thing that I went
Mhm.
through. And
Mhm.
being able to help out and reach out and give advice has been so rewarding. And I'm hoping to help a lot more people.
Yeah. Are you speaking in groups, or I know you're going on podcasts. That's definitely a larger way to speak out and share the information. But are you speaking in organizations? Have you been doing
As
that?
So I am in a few Facebook groups with tons of people in it who are
Oh,
also
good.
supportive. I've also been in the news a few times on the radio. Just last week, I my story was shared on the WebMD website, which was massive. So that story is definitely going to hit a lot of people. And I
Mhm.
am so grateful for that. And with that, I'm getting messages every other day on social media. People are finding me saying, "Hey, I saw your interview. Hey, I saw your article. I read your story. Thank you for sharing that. It's the first time I've ever felt like I was being heard."
Oh, that's wonderful.
Hmm.
Really good, Preslee. Um, so what's the next step for you? Does life go on, or is it the publicity? Are you in publicity phase,
I
sharing the message?
Yeah. Ever since I heard about it on Dr. Phil, that kind of opened my eyes and made me want to go out there and share my story, and realizing that I'm actually helping people and hearing from these people who I'm helping. Some
Mhm.
would even say, "Hey, my mom sent me your link to this news article because she thought that I would enjoy it because I'm going through the same thing." It's been great to help people. It's sad to know that they're going through the same thing, but I'm hoping that they can take what I did and get the diagnosis that they need in the end.
Tell me this, are they, most of the people that are getting back to you, are they young people or are they all ages?
It's been all ages. I've had
All
younger
ages.
people, I've had older folks, yeah.
Oh, good. Well, good. That's good, Preslee. Um, so moving forward, you're just going to keep spreading the news and writing articles. So I heard you say you
Yeah,
like to write.
I do, and if it's for an important cause, I love it even more.
Yeah. Well, there's oh, I was trying to remember this site that takes articles. Are you doing some article writing on the internet?
I've done a few. The last one was on a website called painnewsnetwork.org.
Oh, well, that would have been a good one,
Mhm.
appropriate one for what you're doing. So anyway, I really thank you for being on Second Wind today. It's great to be able to be part of your process. And I'm so glad you reached out to Second Wind. But I'm going to take a few minutes now and say goodbye to my listening audience. Now, you know out there, dear listeners, that this is not unusual that Preslee had to experience this. It is very prevalent, particularly in the medical area and anywhere there is a skilled, educated professional in the medical area. I'm not just saying it's not in other areas as well, but this one affects you with pain and discomfort. So it's very important that you be responsible, but you also take the necessary action to take care of you. So if you know a friend that is struggling with some diagnosis that she does not know where she is, and she has lots of frustration over this time in her life, share this story with her, because I think it can help her move through a very frustrating, stressful situation. So I'm all about sharing the word, and I want you to share the word on Second Wind or Press. They can you have a website, don't you, Preslee?
I don't have a personal website. I use social media mainly.
Oh, okay. What's your social media?
On Facebook, it'll be Preslee, so Preslee, and last name Marshall, Marshall.
Okay. Go there and help, and Preslee will help you share the word as well. So thank you for being with us today. I hope you have a great week, and that we'll look forward to seeing you next week for another wonderful, informative podcast. Thank you for being here. Have a great week.
Joyce Buford returns next week at the same time for another edition of Second Wind. Through the Joyce Buford Empowerment System, women are receiving the support they need through their transitions and are able to reclaim their true purpose with confidence. They receive the tools they need to map out new lives. You can find out more about her coaching services at joycebufordempowers.com.